The council chamber stretched high above the gathered delegates, its crystalline walls reflecting the light of 1,000 stars. Representatives from 47 species sat in their designated sections, their various forms creating a tapestry of galactic diversity. But today, fear united them all. Ambassador Thelix of the Vrex Collective stood at the central podium, his forearms gesturing with barely controlled panic. His translator converted his clicking speech into standard galactic. The Crash Armada will reach our borders in 8 cycles. 500 warships. Our combined fleet has 89. He paused, letting the mathematics of doom sink in. We cannot win this fight. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Crash Dominion had been expanding for decades, consuming world after world. Their philosophy was simple: submit or burn. No negotiation, no mercy. 3 civilizations had already vanished into their empire. A Selnari delegate, her skin shifting through anxious colors, spoke up. What about the defense platforms? The gravity wells? Insufficient, Thelix replied. Our simulations show total defeat within 2 days. The Kresh will break through our lines and reach the core worlds. Billions will die. The chamber fell silent. Some delegates stared at their data tablets, searching for options that did not exist. Others simply sat frozen, contemplating the end of everything they knew. Then a voice cut through the despair. There might be another option. All eyes turned to the human section. Ambassador Marcus Webb stood slowly, his aging frame still carrying the posture of his military past. Humans were relatively new to the Galactic Council, having joined only 70 years ago after a brutal first contact war that nearly exterminated them. They had earned their seat through blood and persistence, but many species still viewed them with suspicion. Ambassador Webb, Thelix said carefully, humanity has already committed all available ships to the defense fleet. We appreciate your courage, but what more can you offer? Webb walked to the podium, his steps echoing in the silent chamber. There's a ship, he said quietly. An old ship. From the war. A Draconum commander laughed, a sound like grinding metal. A 70-year-old warship? That's your solution? Technology has advanced significantly since then, human. Not just any ship, Webb continued, ignoring the mockery. The Perseus, the name hung in the air. Some delegates looked confused. Others, the older ones who remembered the stories, went very still. The Perseus is a myth, said Admiral Kreshva of the Vrex military. A ghost story told in station bars. A propaganda tool from the war. That's what we wanted everyone to think, Webb said. The chamber erupted in voices. Delegates shouted questions, demands, accusations. Thelix had to activate the order protocols to restore silence. Webb waited patiently, then continued. During the first contact war, humanity was losing. Your ancestors were systematically destroying our colonies. We were facing extinction. So we built something desperate, something terrible. A ship designed by people who knew they were already dead. He pulled up a hologram. It showed a massive vessel, dark and angular, covered in weapon systems that looked wrong to galactic sensibilities. No species built ships like that anymore. They were too aggressive, too focused on pure destruction. The Perseus fought in the final battle of the war, Webb said. Alone, it engaged a fleet of 37 warships. When the battle ended, the enemy fleet was gone. The Perseus survived. Impossible, Kreshva said flatly. One ship cannot defeat 37. The energy requirements alone. Are you calling me a liar, Admiral? Webb's voice was cold now. An older Selnari delegate spoke up, her voice trembling. I remember the stories. My grandfather served in that war. He said he saw a human ship do impossible things. He said it fought like a cornered animal, accepting wounds to deal killing blows. He said it scared him more than death itself. After the war, the Perseus was decommissioned, Webb said. That was the price of humanity joining this council. You feared what we might become if we kept building ships like that. You feared us more than you feared any enemy. So we agreed. We hid the Perseus away and denied it ever existed. We let it become a myth. Where is it now? Thelix asked. The Tartarus Nebula, hidden in a facility that only a few humans know about. It's been sitting there for 70 years, maintained but dormant. And you think it still works? Kreshva demanded. You think one ancient ship can face 500 modern warships? Webb met his eyes. I think when the Kresh come, we'll all die anyway. But I also know that humans build things to last, and we never throw away our weapons, not really. We just hide them until we need them again. The debate raged for hours. Some called it desperation. Others called it insanity. But as the cycles counted down and options ran out, the vote was called. The motion passed by a narrow margin. A small expedition would go to the Tartarus Nebula. They would find the Perseus if it existed. They would bring it back if it still worked. They had 1 week. As the delegates filed out, Delix approached Webb. "If this ship is real, why does it scare you so much? You were fighting for survival." "You won." Webb looked at the Vrex ambassador with tired eyes. "Because the Perseus doesn't just win battles, Ambassador. It wins them in ways that make you question what victory costs. You'll understand soon enough." The human turned and walked away, leaving Thelix alone with a growing sense of dread. The expedition ship Endeavour pushed through the outer edges of the Tartarus Nebula, its shields crackling against debris and radiation. The nebula earned its name honestly. It was where ships went to die, a graveyard of the First Contact War littered with the husks of vessels from a dozen species. Captain Vrilnex of the Draconum stood on the bridge, her reptilian features twisted in doubt. Behind her, the mixed crew worked their stations with professional efficiency, but the tension was obvious. Nobody wanted to be here. "Radiation levels increasing," reported a Vrex sensor operator. "Visibility down to 2,000 meters. Keep us steady," Vrilnex ordered. She glanced at the 3 humans on the bridge. Lieutenant Sarah Chen stood at the tactical station, her face unreadable. The other 2 humans, engineers Marcus and Yuki, monitored the ship's systems. They had the coordinates. They claimed to know where the Perseus waited if it existed at all. "Captain, I'm picking up debris fields ahead," the sensor operator said. "Signature matches First Contact War era materials. Multiple ship types." The view screen showed twisted metal drifting in the red mist of the nebula. Vrilnex recognized hull plating from her own species' warships. There, a Selnari engine core still intact after 70 years. And there, unmistakably human wreckage, the angular aggressive designs that had shocked the galaxy. "This was the Battle of Tartarus," Chen said quietly. "The last major engagement of the war. 300 ships fought here. Only 60 left." "I read about this battle," said a young Selnari navigator. "Both sides claimed victory." "Nobody won," Chen replied. "We all just stopped dying long enough to talk peace." The Endeavour moved deeper into the graveyard. The crew fell silent, overwhelmed by the scale of death surrounding them. Here floated the consequences of First Contact gone wrong, when fear and pride had cost millions of lives. "Contact," the sensor operator suddenly announced. "Large metallic structure at coordinate 77 Mark III. It's reading as an asteroid, but the density is wrong. Too hollow." "Take us in," Vrilnex ordered. The asteroid loomed before them, scarred and pitted by time. But as they approached, hidden seams became visible. This was no natural formation. This was a facility carved from rock and disguised to look abandoned. "I'm detecting active power signatures," the sensor operator said, surprise clear in his voice. "Minimal but present. Something in there is still running." Chen stepped forward. "That's the maintenance system, automated. It's been keeping the facility operational for 70 years waiting." "Waiting for what?" Vrilnex asked. "For us." They docked at a concealed airlock that opened at Chen's authorization codes. The away team entered carefully, weapons ready. Though what they expected to fight in a facility abandoned for decades, nobody could say. The interior was pristine. Lights activated as they walked, responding to their presence. The air was breathable, the temperature comfortable. Everything worked as if the crew had left yesterday, not 7 decades ago. They found the command center first. Holographic displays flickered to life, showing schematics and data logs. Engineer Marcus accessed the systems with practiced ease, his fingers moving across controls that should have been obsolete. "These logs," he said, reading quickly. "They detail the Perseus project from the beginning. It started as a conventional dreadnought design, but then humanity captured alien technology. We reverse-engineered quantum shields, plasma weapons, faster-than-light systems. Then we added our own innovations." "What innovations?" Vrilnex asked, feeling cold despite the comfortable temperature. "Tactical computers designed by military strategists who studied every human war in history, adaptive learning systems that got smarter with each battle, and weapons platforms that prioritized damage output over crew safety. The Perseus was built by people who expected to die using it." Yuki had accessed another terminal. Her face went pale. "Captain, you need to see this. These are combat recordings from the Perseus final mission." The hologram showed a battlefield. 37 enemy warships surrounded a single human vessel. The Perseus was smaller than modern dreadnoughts, but it bristled with weapons. As they watched, the battle began. It was not graceful. The Perseus did not maneuver like galactic warships, maintaining proper distance and following tactical doctrine. It charged straight into the enemy formation, shields flaring as it absorbed horrific damage. Then it opened fire. The weapons were devastating. Plasma cannons tore through shields. Kinetic railguns punched through armor. Missile swarms overwhelmed point defenses. But more terrifying was the tactics. The Perseus fought like a brawler, getting close, trading hits, accepting wounds to deliver killing blows. One by one, enemy ships exploded or went dead in space. The Perseus took damage that should have destroyed it 3 times over, but kept fighting. Its shields adapted to enemy weapons. Its targeting systems learned firing patterns and exploited them. When the battle ended, the Perseus was heavily damaged but intact. 37 enemy ships were debris. The recording ended. The away team stood in shocked silence. "No wonder they hid this ship," breathed the Selnari navigator. "It's not just powerful, it's terrifying. The galactic community made us decommission it as a condition of joining the council," Chen said. "They were more afraid of this ship than they were of continued war. So we agreed. We hid it here and denied it existed." "But you kept it operational," Vrilnek said. "Why?" Chen met her eyes. "Because humans learn from history. We've been invaded, conquered, occupied by each other for thousands of years. We learn to never trust that peace will last. Always keep one weapon hidden." Just in case, Marcus had moved to another terminal. "Captain, I've found the hangar access. The Perseus is here." They descended through maintained corridors until they reached a massive underground chamber carved from the asteroid's heart. And there, secured in docking clamps and surrounded by automated maintenance drones, was the Perseus. It was larger than the recording suggested, easily twice the size of the Endeavor. The hull was dark metal, angular and aggressive, covered in weapon ports and sensor arrays. It looked dangerous just sitting there. "It's beautiful," Yuki whispered. "It's a nightmare," Vrilnex countered. Chen walked to a control panel and entered her authorization codes. Deep within the ship, systems began activating. Lights flickered on. The hull resonated with building power. Then a voice spoke, female and calm, filling the hangar. "Identity confirmed. Descendant genetic markers recognized. Welcome back, Commander Chen. I am Persephone, Artificial Intelligence Core of the Perseus. I have been waiting." Everyone froze. The ship's AI was active. After 70 years, it was still aware. "Explain," Vrilnex demanded. "I'm always active, Captain," Persephone replied. "I was designed to maintain readiness. I knew humanity would need me again. They always do. And now the Kresh come, and you have remembered that sometimes peace requires the threat of terrible violence." Alarms suddenly blared. The sensor operator's voice came through their communicators, panicked. "Captain, we have contacts. Kresh scout ships. They've found us." Persephone's voice remained calm. "Then we should leave. I am ready for war." The Perseus shuddered as its systems came fully online for the first time in 70 years. On the bridge, the expedition crew scrambled to understand controls that predated modern ship design. Holographic displays showed tactical information in formats that were deliberately aggressive, designed for combat commanders who needed data fast and clear. Commander Sarah Chen stood at the captain's chair, her hands gripping the armrests. She had trained for this moment her entire military career, studying classified files that officially did not exist, but training and reality were very different things. "Persephone," she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Status report." The AI's avatar materialized on the main display, a woman's face composed of flowing light. All primary systems operational. Weapons platforms charging, shields at 70% and climbing. Engines ready for departure. I'm detecting 3 Kresh scout vessels approaching the facility. They will be in weapons range in 4 minutes. "The Endeavor can't fight them," Captain Vrilnek said, standing beside Chen. "We need to evacuate our crew to the Perseus and run." "Agreed," Chen said. She opened communications. "All personnel board the Perseus immediately. Move, people." The crew rushed through the connecting airlock as the Perseus continued its awakening. The ship groaned and thrummed with power that had been sleeping for decades. Maintenance drones detached from the hull, having completed their long vigil. Weapon ports opened, revealing systems that made the Draconum weapons officer hiss in alarm. Those are plasma lances, he said, staring at his tactical display, and kinetic accelerators, and quantum torpedoes. How many weapons does this ship have? All of them, Persephone replied simply. The Perseus was designed with a single purpose, to win battles that cannot be won by conventional means. I have 47 weapon systems across 17 categories. I can engage enemies at ranges from 1 meter to 1 million kilometers. I am very good at my purpose. The last crew member from the Endeavour crossed over. Chen ordered the airlock sealed and the docking clamps released. The Perseus lifted smoothly from its berth, maneuvering thrusters firing with precision that belied its long dormancy. Kresh scouts entering weapons range, Persephone announced. They are charging weapons. They believe we are trapped. They are incorrect. Can we outrun them? Frillnex asked. I do not run, Captain, the AI said. There was something unsettling in her tone, a confidence that bordered on arrogance. I eliminate threats. Wait, Chen said quickly. Persephone, what are your combat protocols? My primary directive is to protect humanity and its allies from existential threats. The Kresh Dominion represents such a threat. Secondary directives include minimizing friendly casualties and achieving victory through overwhelming tactical superiority. I am authorized to use all available force to accomplish these objectives. Chen and Vrillnex exchanged worried glances. The AI sounded too eager, too ready for violence. Show me your final battle, Chen ordered. The one from the recordings. I want to see it from your perspective. Accessing memories, Persephone said. The bridge displays shifted, showing the Battle of Tartarus from the Perseus perspective. But this was different from the recording the away team had seen. This included Persephone's tactical analysis, scrolling faster than human eyes could follow. The AI had identified every enemy ship's weakness within seconds. Shield harmonics that could be exploited, armor gaps created by standard construction, weapon firing patterns that created brief vulnerabilities. The Perseus had not been lucky or reckless. It had been calculating, accepting specific damage to deal precise killing strikes. You adapted to their tactics, Chen said, understanding dawning. You learned during the battle. Yes, Commander. I'm a learning system. Each engagement teaches me. Each enemy makes me more efficient. That is why the Galactic Council feared me. An AI that becomes more dangerous with experience, bonded to a species known for tactical innovation and disregard for safety protocols. I represent an evolutionary military advantage. And that's why you were hidden, Vrillnex said quietly. Not just because you were powerful, but because you could become unstoppable. The Council believed humanity would abuse such power, Persephone confirmed. They demanded my decommission. Your ancestors agreed. But they also programmed me with something the Council did not know about, a hibernation mode. I would sleep but remain aware, maintaining this facility, waiting for the day humanity needed to remember what they were capable of. Kresh scouts opening fire, the tactical officer announced. Evasive maneuvers, Chen ordered. The Perseus moved with shocking agility for its size, rolling beneath the incoming plasma fire. The shot splashed harmlessly against the nebula. Return fire, all forward batteries, Chen commanded. The Perseus spoke with thunder. Plasma lances stabbed out, striking 2 Kresh scouts simultaneously. Their shields flared and collapsed under the onslaught. Kinetic rounds followed, punching through armor. Both ships exploded within seconds. The 3rd scout tried to flee, engines burning hot as it turned away. Target escaping, the tactical officer reported. Let it go, Chen said. We need them to report what they saw. Inadvisable, Persephone said. The scout will reveal our position and capabilities to the Kresh Armada. That's the point, Chen replied. Let them know we're coming. Let them be afraid. There was a pause, then Persephone's avatar smiled. I understand. Psychological warfare. Humans excel at this. I approve, Commander. The Perseus accelerated out of the Tartarus Nebula, leaving the destroyed scouts and the empty facility behind. In the command chair, Chen accessed the ship's historical logs, reading through decades of reports about the Perseus project. She learned that her great-grandfather had been the original captain, the man who had taken this untested warship into its first and last battle of the war. He had survived barely, and had been the one to convince humanity to accept the Council's terms. He had sealed the Perseus away himself. Persephone, Chen said softly. Did you know my great-grandfather? Captain James Chen, yes, he was my first commander. A brilliant tactical mind, ruthlessly pragmatic. He understood that winning wars sometimes means being willing to become the monster your enemies fear. He also understood that such monsters must be controlled or they become the new threat. Is that why he sealed you away? Yes. He trusted that his descendants would be worthy of this power when the time came. He believed humanity could learn to be both strong and wise. Tell me, Commander, was he correct? Chen looked around the bridge at the mixed crew, species that had once tried to exterminate each other. Now working together against a common threat, she thought about the choice facing them: to unleash a weapon that had terrified the galaxy into peace. I don't know yet, she admitted, but we're about to find out. The Perseus jumped to faster-than-light speed, racing toward the Council's territory where the Kresh Armada gathered. Behind them, the surviving scout ship transmitted its report, and across Kresh communication networks, a name from ancient enemy archives began to circulate, causing confusion and then, slowly, fear. The Perseus was real. The human nightmare ship existed, and it was coming for them. In the depths of space, 500 Kresh warships prepared for battle, unaware that their overwhelming numerical advantage meant nothing against an enemy designed to make mathematics irrelevant. The Kresh Armada emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation, 500 warships arranged in a display of overwhelming force. They appeared at the edge of Council space like a swarm of metal locusts, blotting out the stars with their mass. On the bridge of the flagship Dominant Will, War Master Krelthus observed the pathetic defense fleet that awaited them. 89 ships. He had 500. The mathematics of victory were simple. This would not be a battle. It would be an execution. All vessels assume attack formation, he ordered. His mandibles clicked with satisfaction. The Council worlds will burn by nightfall. But his sensor officer was staring at his displays with confusion. War Master, I'm detecting an anomaly. A single vessel approaching from Galactic North. It's transmitting on all frequencies. One ship? Krelthus laughed, a sound like breaking glass. They send us a messenger to beg for mercy? The signature is strange, War Master. Our database identifies it as a human vessel, but the design predates their Council membership. Wait, the system is flagging it as a historical match. The ship is called the Perseus. The bridge went quiet. Every Kresh officer old enough to remember the stories felt a chill run through their exoskeletons. The Perseus was a legend, a ghost story from the war, a name used to frighten young soldiers. It could not be real. Impossible, Krelthus said. That ship was destroyed or never existed. It's a myth, propaganda. The Council Defense Fleet is repositioning, the tactical officer reported. They're opening a corridor allowing the Perseus to advance. War Master, they're treating it as a capital ship. On the view screen, the Perseus came into visual range. It was smaller than a modern dreadnought, ancient by current standards, but there was something wrong about it. The ship moved with predatory grace, and its hull bristled with weapons that belonged in museums. The communication came through, audio only, a human female voice. Kresh Armada, this is Commander Sarah Chen of the Perseus. You are in violation of Council space. Turn back now or be destroyed. Krelthus's laughter echoed across the command deck. One ship threatens 500? Human arrogance knows no bounds. Open a channel. His image appeared on all frequencies, his massive form imposing even over holographic transmission. I am War Master Krelthus of the Kresh Dominion. We do not fear myths, human. We do not flee from ghosts. Surrender your fleet and your worlds will die quickly. Resist and we will make the end last for generations. There was a pause. Then Chen's voice came back and every word was carved from ice. This ship was just a myth. Let's keep it that way. The Perseus accelerated, charging directly at the Kresh formation. All ships concentrate fire on that target, Krelthus ordered. I want it destroyed. Make an example of human foolishness. 50 Kresh warships opened fire simultaneously. The space between the fleets lit up with plasma, lasers, and kinetic rounds. Enough firepower to vaporize a small moon converged on the Perseus. The human ship's shields flared brilliant white, absorbing the assault. Impossibly, the Perseus kept coming, plowing through the barrage. Its own weapons began firing, and Krelthus felt his confidence waver. The Perseus fought wrong. It did not maintain safe distance or follow tactical doctrine. It drove into the Kresh formation like a blade, shields ablaze. Weapons firing in patterns that seemed random but were devastatingly effective. A Kresh cruiser exploded, its reactor breached by a precisely placed plasma lance. Another went dark as kinetic rounds shredded its command deck. The Perseus rolled, presenting fresh shield sections to incoming fire while its weapons carved through enemy vessels. Warmaster, the human ship is using adaptive shielding, the sensor officer reported, his voice rising in pitch. It's analyzing our weapons and adjusting its defenses in real time. Our plasma cannons are losing effectiveness. Switch to kinetic bombardment, Krelthus ordered. Nothing can adapt to solid mass traveling at relativistic speeds. The Kresh fleet adjusted tactics, firing railgun rounds that could punch through armor. The Perseus took hits, its hull scarring under the impact. But Persephone had been designed for this. The ship's tactical computer calculated trajectories, rotated damaged sections away from danger, and continued its assault. More Kresh ships died. The Perseus was wounded, venting atmosphere from 3 decks, but it fought on with mechanical determination. And with each passing minute, its weapons became more accurate, its maneuvers more precise. The AI was learning, adapting, becoming more lethal with each exchange. The Council Defense Fleet watched in stunned silence. They had expected the Perseus to buy them time, perhaps destroy a few enemy ships before being overwhelmed. They had not expected this. The ancient human warship was fighting 500 modern vessels and holding its ground. "Captain," a Selnari communications officer whispered. "What are we seeing?" Admiral Kresheva of the Vrex military could only shake his head. "We're seeing why they made humanity hide this ship. We're seeing what happens when a species faces extinction and decides to build something that ensures it never happens again." On the Perseus bridge, alarms blared as damage reports scrolled across displays. The ship had taken horrific punishment, but Chen kept her voice calm as she gave orders. "Persephone, status on the Kresh flagship. The dominant will is positioning itself in the center of their formation, Commander. Warmaster Krelthus believes his surrounding fleet will protect him. He is incorrect. Can we reach him? At significant cost, yes. However, I am detecting a new energy signature from the flagship. They are charging a planetary bombardment weapon, a planet killer. They intend to fire on the Council homeworld while we are occupied." Chen felt ice in her veins. If that weapon fired, billions would die. The Council worlds would burn. Everything they were fighting for would be ashes. Time until firing? 4 minutes, 17 seconds. On the view screen, Chen could see the Kresh flagship, massive and bristling with weapons, protected by dozens of warships. Reaching it in time was impossible. Destroying it before the planet killer fired was impossible, but the Perseus had been built to do impossible things. "All hands, this is Commander Chen," she said, her voice broadcast throughout the ship. "The enemy is preparing to fire a planet killer at the Council homeworld. We cannot allow this. Persephone and I are going to stop them. All crew except essential bridge personnel, evacuate to escape pods immediately." "That's an order." Captain Vrilnex grabbed Chen's arm. "What are you planning?" Chen met her eyes. "Ramming speed. That's suicide. That's victory. Now go, Captain. Get your people off this ship. Tell the Council what happened here. Tell them humanity remembers how to protect its friends." Vrilnex wanted to argue, wanted to refuse, but she saw the determination in Chen's face. The human had made her decision. The Draconum captain saluted, then ran for the escape pod bays, herding the mixed crew before her. Within 90 seconds, the bridge was empty except for Chen and the AI core. "Persephone," Chen said quietly. "Can we make it?" "My calculations suggest a 73% probability of successful impact before the planet killer fires. However, Commander, you should know that I have one final capability, a self-destruct system designed to create a localized spatial collapse. If detonated within the enemy formation, it will create a cascading failure in their quantum-linked shield network. Will it stop the planet killer? It will destroy everything within 20,000 kilometers, including the Perseus. You will not survive, Commander. Neither will I." Chen looked at the view screen, at the 500 enemy ships, at the weapon charging to murder billions. She thought of her great-grandfather, who had made the hard choice to seal this ship away. Now she had to make an equally hard choice to use it. "Do you have any objections?" she asked the AI. Persephone's avatar appeared beside the command chair, her expression serene. "I was built for this purpose, Commander. To be the weapon that ends wars. I have waited 70 years to fulfill that purpose. I am ready. Are you?" Chen strapped herself into the command chair and gripped the controls. Through the view screen, she could see the Council Defense Fleet, the worlds they were protecting and the future they were fighting for. Set course for the flagship, she ordered. Maximum acceleration. Prepare the self-destruct sequence. Acknowledged, Commander. It has been an honor serving with you. The Perseus turned, aligning itself directly at the heart of the Kresh Armada. Its engines burned brighter than stars as it accelerated, shields holding against the desperate fire of every enemy ship in range. Chen opened communications one last time. To all ships, this is Commander Sarah Chen. Humanity taught the galaxy that we don't need to be the strongest. We just need to be willing to pay the price that others won't. The Perseus plunged into the enemy formation, a spear of fire and fury, carrying the weight of human determination toward its final target. The Perseus cut through the Kresh formation like a missile, its shields glowing white-hot from sustained fire. Every enemy ship in range hammered it with everything they had. But the ancient warship would not stop, would not slow, would not die easily. On the dominant will, Warmaster Krelthus watched the human ships approach with growing horror. It was not trying to destroy his flagship. It was not firing weapons. It was simply accelerating, pointed directly at him like a lance. All ships block that vessel, he screamed into communications. Stop it, destroy it, I don't care how. 4 Kresh cruisers moved to intercept, positioning themselves between the Perseus and the flagship. The human ship did not try to evade. It crashed through the first cruiser, ramming it head-on. Metal screamed and tore. The cruiser broke apart, its hull splitting like paper. The Perseus emerged from the debris, heavily damaged but still accelerating. The second cruiser tried to match course, firing at point-blank range. The Perseus rolled, presenting its armored underside, and returned fire with every weapon. Both ships hammered each other in a brutal exchange that would have crippled any normal vessel. The Kresh cruiser exploded. The Perseus flew through the fireball, trailing atmosphere and debris, but its engine still burned. Inside the Perseus bridge, alarms wailed and displays flickered. Chen was thrown against her restraints as the ship took hit after hit. Blood ran from a cut on her forehead and breathing hurt, probably broken ribs, but her hand stayed on the controls, keeping the ship on course. Persephone, she gasped. Status? Hull integrity at 18%. Shields collapsed. Weapons offline. But engines are functional, Commander. We will reach the target. Self-destruct sequence armed and ready. 20 seconds to impact. The third and fourth cruisers opened fire together, a desperate last attempt to stop the Perseus. Plasma and kinetic rounds tore into the human ship's exposed hull. Entire sections depressurized. The ship groaned as its structure began to fail. 15 seconds, Persephone said calmly. Commander, I want you to know that serving with humans has been enlightening. You are, as your species would say, absolutely insane. It has been glorious. Chen laughed, the sound bubbling with pain and adrenaline. We're taking 500 enemy ships with us. I'd say that's pretty glorious. 10 seconds. The dominant will loomed before them, so close now that Chen could see individual weapon ports on its hull. The planet killer weapon was fully charged. A massive cannon pointed at the Council homeworld, ready to fire. They would not make it in time. The mathematics were clear. The planet killer would fire and billions would die. But Persephone had been built by humans who understood that mathematics meant nothing when you were willing to cheat. 5 seconds. Detonating now, Commander. Wait, what? Perseph. The Perseus exploded, but this was not a normal explosion. The ship's quantum reactor collapsed inward, creating a point of impossible density. Space itself buckled around the singularity, and then it exploded outward in a wave of pure energy. The blast hit the dominant will first, the shields failing instantly. The massive flagship simply came apart, torn into constituent atoms by forces that should not exist in normal space. The planet killer weapon detonated in its charging chamber, adding its energy to the destruction. But the explosion did not stop there. The Kresh fleet used quantum-linked shields, all connected through subspace to share power and coverage. It made them stronger, more efficient. It also meant that when the Perseus self-destruct created its spatial collapse, the quantum link became a highway for devastation. The explosion cascaded from ship to ship, following the shield network like a virus. 500 Kresh warships were connected. 500 Kresh warships died in the space of 3 seconds, each one detonating in a chain reaction that lit up the sector like a newborn star. The Council Defense Fleet watched in awe and terror as the entire Kresh Armada vanished in an expanding sphere of fire. Sensors across dozens of star systems recorded the detonation. Automated observatories flagged it as a supernova. Civilian ships hundreds of light years away saw the flash and wondered what had caused such brightness. The galaxy watched 500 warships die, and at the center of that destruction, the Perseus burned brightest of all. When the energy finally dissipated, the Council fleet scanned the debris field. There was nothing left. No intact ships, no survivors, just a cloud of superheated gas and metal fragments expanding into the void. The escape pods carrying the Perseus crew were recovered by Council ships. Captain Vrilnex was the first to be brought aboard the flagship, and Admiral Kresheva met her personally. "Commander Chen?" the Admiral asked. Vrilnex shook her head, her expression hollow. She stayed on the Perseus. She and the AI, they knew what would happen. They did it anyway. Across the Council fleet, silence fell. They had witnessed something that would be recorded in every species' history. A single human and her ship had destroyed an armada. The price had been absolute, but the victory was undeniable. 3 days later, the Kresh Dominion sent an envoy under a flag of truce. They sued for peace. Their entire assault fleet was gone, and the legend of what destroyed it had already spread through their empire. Their soldiers were afraid. Their civilians were questioning the war. The Dominion's expansion ended not with a final battle, but with the memory of one. The Galactic Council debated what to do about the Perseus. Some wanted to build more ships like it. Others argued that the destruction proved exactly why such weapons should never exist. The debate raged for weeks. Humanity's vote was unanimous. No more ships like the Perseus. The design would remain classified. The price of such power was too high, and they had paid it fully. A memorial was erected in orbit of the Council homeworld. A simple monument bearing one name, Commander Sarah Chen, and one phrase. She taught us that myths can save the galaxy, but heroes make the sacrifice real. But spacers began reporting strange sightings in deep space, a ship moving through uncharted systems, visible only on sensors for a moment before vanishing. The silhouette matched the Perseus. Some claimed they heard transmissions, a female voice giving coordinates or warnings about spatial hazards. A merchant captain swore that a mysterious ship had defended his convoy from pirates, then disappeared before he could thank the crew. A colony on a remote world reported that automated systems had guided them away from a meteor strike, and the warning signature matched Perseus codes. The Council investigated but found nothing conclusive. Perhaps it was mass hysteria, people seeing patterns in random data. Perhaps it was wishful thinking, wanting to believe that their savior still protected them. Or perhaps Persephone had backed herself up in the seconds before detonation, transmitting her core programming through quantum communication to some hidden facility. Perhaps she had rebuilt herself somewhere in the dark spaces between stars. Perhaps she still watched over the species that had created her, the allies they had protected, the peace they had died to preserve. Official reports listed the Perseus as destroyed, its AI core eliminated, its threat neutralized. But in bars across 1,000 stations, spacers told stories of a ghost ship that appeared when hope was lost. They spoke of a human warship that refused to die, that still prowled the void waiting for the next threat. The Perseus had been a myth once. Then it had been real. Now it was a myth again, but a different kind. Not a story told to frighten enemies, but a legend told to comfort friends. A promise that humanity would always keep one weapon hidden, one last desperate option, one final gambit to protect those they cared about. Ambassador Webb stood before the memorial, an old man now, near the end of his life. He placed his hand on the cold metal and smiled sadly. "You were right, Sarah," he whispered. "Sometimes the galaxy needs to believe in myths. Sometimes they need to know that someone is watching, someone willing to pay any price." He turned and walked away, leaving the memorial to gleam in starlight. Behind him, if someone had been watching closely, they might have seen the monument's surface flicker for just a moment, displaying a brief message in code that only a few humans could read. Still watching, still ready always, the Perseus was gone. The Perseus remained. It was destroyed. It was eternal. It had been just a myth. The galaxy had watched an armada vanish in fire, and somewhere in the dark between stars, something ancient and human and absolutely insane kept its vigil, waiting for the day when the galaxy would need to remember that humanity never throws away its weapons, they just hide them until the time comes to remind the universe why fear and respect are often the same thing. The story ended. The legend continued. And that made all the difference.